Guys, I went and bought the new Q3 43. Some of you guys might not believe what I'm about to say, but this is the first camera and lens combo where it helped me create images where my brain's forced to stare at the whole image as a whole, the full frame, if that makes sense. Some of you guys might not understand what I'm trying to say here. Real quick, when it comes to like black and white images, your brain is forced to look at the full image because there's no colors that our brain gets triggered with to like, you know, stare at the detail. That's why black and white images just kind of have a different feeling because again, your brain's forced to look at the image as a whole first. You see the whole image, you don't see the details first. So there's tricks that you could do with lighting and composition, specifically editing, haze and blah, blah, blah. But again, this is the first camera where it kind of just accomplishes that on its own. I think it's a combo of the APO lens, which I'll kind of explain what APO is, plus the image sensor in here, the way that these files edit, let's get into this. I'm really excited about this. So the elephant in the room, yes, this is a pricey camera. For me, this is a price I'm willing to pay to, you know, allow me to create the things I want to create. As I'm always saying, I'm an artist before I'm a gearhead. I'm an artist before I'm a working professional. I'm an artist before I'm a YouTuber. Like, I get uncomfortable if I cannot create. I get uncomfortable if I cannot tell the stories I want to tell. I get uncomfortable if I can't get the visions in my brain out into the physical world. So no, it's not that there's a Leica name on this camera. It's a combo of multiple things. First off, the focal length. This is a 43 millimeters. I guess the science is like that. The diagonal of like a full frame sensor is like the natural use something. I don't know about all that. All I know is 40 millimeters is like my bread and butter. 40 millimeters to me, or 43. It has like this immersive environmental width to where you kind of feel like you're there in the image, but it still has really good compression where you kind of get like a, dare I say, I'm gonna say cinematic feel. I know some of you guys would get triggered by that. To me, that's what it feels like. 40 millimeters is Roger Deakins' favorite focal length. And I know a lot of you cinema guys worship Roger Deakins, as so do I. How I got onto that focal length was this camera specifically. This is the Canon QL17. This was one of my first rangefinders, and the images I would get out of this camera just like broke my brain. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced when you shoot something or you see something and you just melt. You just like, oof, like that's it. I absolutely love this camera. The battery's down it really quick. The viewfinder's not too great on it. The metering system's kind of whack. And honestly, it's kind of a pretty camera too. So yeah, so this is what turned me on to 40 millimeters. Yeah, and also the setup I'm shooting on right now, it's the LUMIX S9 with the Mofage Poco rear view and D adapter with Laser Remus 33 millimeter at T1.8. And I'm using the DJI LiDAR focus system. So we're doing autofocus right now, so I can move in and out autofocus with anamorphic. Now back to the Leica Q3 but real quick, here's a comparison to the cameras. That's the Q3, that's the old Canon QL17. QL stands for quick load. It's really easy to load film into that camera. And then here's the Nikon ZF next to the Leica Q3. You can see the Q3 is pretty smaller than the ZF. So I actually made a whole video talking about the rumors of this. I didn't get time to put it out. I had to upload it, but I was like, I think it comes out in 3 days. So yeah, that was a few days wasted on a video, but you know, it is what it is. But anyways, I got into Leica from a handful of my homies. If you go follow me on Threads, you'll see everybody who kind of influenced me to get into Leica. I got into the Leica M6 and then the Leica MP. My MP's over there, brought me into the Leica M11. Because again, going back to that Canon QL17, the way I shoot with rangefinders, I absolutely love it. It makes me shoot way differently. It makes me shoot a little bit more raw and I guess Americana, if that makes sense. So the M11, the files on this, the experience with this, it's just amazing. But recently I just went on a road trip. I was filming my review for the Blazar Kato 2X anamorphic. So guys, this is why I need a Q3. Without a Q3, I could do autofocus. Drive through the viewfinder here. And but yeah, one of my cowgirl friends invited me out to basically shoot and document them pushing cattle down a highway. So Evan and I drove all the way out there. I used the M11 for the most part to capture a lot of images. It was amazing. Again, this camera is insanely fun, but obviously it's manual focus. So I missed a good portion of my shot. I wish the Q3 43 came out just a week before because I would have freaking taken it with me, but you know, it is what it is. So now finally coming to the Q3. Sorry, I know that was a whole bunch of yada, yada, yada. I need coffee. So sorry, with all that said, all of those cameras, all of those experiences, all of those like just pathways led me to this Q3 43. On top of the images, you know, just really standing out, we'll get into it. The experience alone with this camera is just amazing. The build quality. I know a lot of people are going to compare this to Fujifilm. I'm going to compare it to Fujifilm. I'll just be upfront. I absolutely love the X100 series. You guys know I do. The X106 was a flop for me though. I feel like they really just didn't give us any of the upgrades that we were actually wanting. I feel like they kind of just, you know, let all of us Fuji people down, but it is what it is. But if you were to hold that camera and then this camera right after, this really shows you get what you pay for. Let's do a quick overview, then we'll get into the APO lens. So first off, obviously a 43mm lens, even the lens cap. Listen to this. These are the first shots I'm pretty much taking with the Q3 43. Amazing. I already have one major gripe. I don't think there's any way to do back button focusing on this. This is again reminding me of the experience of the Fujifilm X100 5 and 6, but better. Because again, the lens is far superior to their lens. It's full frame and it's 60 megapixel. Bro, even the autofocus, I would say it's a tiny bit better than Fuji. So this is the cropped in mode at 90. Again, so we're going from 43mm to 90. So this is pretty much like a 2X. This looks like a proper, like detail wise, looks like an actual 90mm lens. I'll also go over all the stuff I have on it too. We'll get into that. But anyways, the autofocus on this, it works really well. The only thing it doesn't work well with is tracking objects. I feel like it'll kind of, the focus box will kind of just jump off and run wild, but it will still hold focus. It's weird. And then other times it just doesn't like the object. When it comes to faces, it works beautifully. If it comes to people, it works beautifully. If you put into the body, face, eye, plus animal tracking, even Sedona, like it works beautifully. It does a combination of phase detection and contrast detection, phase with the pH. So the autofocus on this is exactly what I need. But say if you want to go into manual focus, we have this cool little tab here. I'm gonna push in this button and it releases it. So right there, you see we have hard stops and it works just like a standard manual focusing lens. What's really fun is if I go and spin this gear on the top right here, all of a sudden, I don't know if you can see that, this whole ring up here that shows your focus points, it shifts and it goes into macro mode. Now this isn't like a crazy, like insane macro mode, but it's enough of a macro mode to where if you want to get even closer, you're gonna be able to crop in. Speaking of, let's get into some fun digital crop modes. At first, I wasn't taking them serious. I was like, that's a gimmick, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I'm gonna use that. This has a 60 megapixel sensor. Honestly, it's the same sensor that's in my Leica M11. The way I edit the files on here, they are some of my favorite like files to edit. I'm pretty sure it's possibly the same sensor as the Sony A7R5. Who knows? So what am I talking about? I set this custom button here into my crop mode. So when I click that, these almost like rangefinder crops that you get in like an M11 or like an MP, M6, any of like the rangefinder cameras, these crop marks come up. So basically it went from a 43mm to a 60. I'm gonna click it again, goes to a 75, goes to a 90, goes to a 120, then it goes to 150. When I was reading the rumors and I was looking at the original Leica Q3, the 28mm, I was like, I'll probably never use that. Again, I've only used this for a few days, or maybe 2 days now. So I haven't got to do a fashion shoot yet. I will do that. I promise. I'm working it out too. Make sure to subscribe. Yeah, so when I was at the powwow, I ended up using it a lot because once I used it and I went to playback and I looked at the images, holy shit, it's actually like rendering the images as if that lens was on there. That's how good this lens is. So I'm finding out that I'm favoring the 75mm crop in a lot and the 90. I do have one huge gripe with this. As you can see, again, we have these, frame guides on here. Leica. This camera is expensive enough to where you guys should be giving us an option where it digitally crops into the screen or the viewfinder. I get what you guys are going for here. We're going for the classic, heritage of Leica and their rangefinders. That's amazing. But I would love the option to where when I do these crop modes, it actually crops in the screen. I understand that might create some noise in the monitor and the viewfinder. That's fine. Allow us to deal with that. I will say the Leica colors through camera, very contrasty. One thing I will give Fujifilm is they do allow you to dial in and out the contrast, so you can make it more contrasty or less. You can't do that on here, but to be fair, I don't think it needs it. It's just, I don't know. I kind of feel like I could make it a little less contrastier, but I mean, let's be honest, I'm shooting in RAW. So the flip out screen, I kind of wish the M11 had this, honestly. Hang on. I love the M11 to death. But there's a lot of instances where I just need more convenience. Again, the M11's pretty much like a film camera. So having autofocus and this flip out screen is just, you know, it's going to fill that pocket for when I need that. Right now, I'm not sure what camera I might end up using more. I don't know. Obviously, I just got this. I'm going to be a little bit romantic with it and use it a bunch. But outside of that, I don't know. We'll see how the cookie crumbles. Want to try it?
Yeah.
Now the APO, this is a long-winded video. Again, this is just first impressions. I'll do more stuff on this. The APO, I don't think a lot of people really understand it. I don't fully understand it, but I'll try my best to translate my idea of it. I could be wrong. If I am, I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments. Everyone thinks chromatic aberrations are the devil. They think they're the worst things on earth. But then in editing, they go on and slap halation and blah, blah, blah. And it's almost looks like the same thing on digital platforms. Anyways, that's a different video. How chromatic aberrations are happening. Light is in multiple wavelengths, and each wavelength is a different speed, which create different colors, I think. So when it comes to optical designs though, they have to design it to where that light comes to a pinpoint, to the center point of that sensor or the film plane. And if they don't all hit the perfect center and align, you're not gonna get a sharp image. So when you get chromatic aberrations, it's because those different color of wavelengths aren't hitting at the same point. Some of them are hitting before they hit the sensor plane, and some of them are hitting after they hit the sensor plane. So when that happens, you're literally losing certain spectrums of light, like certain colors of light. And so chromatic aberrations aren't added colors, they're actually missing colors. They're missing colors from the image. APO, APO, however you want to call it, lenses, basically they're designed to make sure all of those wavelengths perfectly hit at the same point. When you do that, you get this new next level of, I don't know if we call it sharpness, but just of precision. So that will lead me into the actual magic behind this. The images I've got off this camera, I was also kind of a loss of words for it. So let me try my best to explain this. And again, this is all coming full circle to what I began the video with saying, your brain's kind of forced to look at the whole image, but also there's like this pop to it. Yes, this lens is insanely sharp, but it's not the type of sharp that we're used to. So when it comes to a lot of modern glass, I feel like there's a lot of sterile, clinical sandpaper type sharpness where it's just like too sharp. There's too much, just like, you see the grit in the skin, and anything that's sharp is just like, it's almost just gross, you know, kind of like, it creeps me out almost. The sharpness that's coming off of this, I don't get that feeling at all. It's weird. The sharpness on this just looks detailed. It looks like it does in real life. It doesn't look overdone. It looks like there's this natural, organic, naturalness behavior to the sharpness. I know a lot of you guys are thinking that like I'm just being romantic about the camera and I paid all this money and blah, blah, blah. I've been shooting since I was 18. I am, how old am I now? 34. 34 years old now. I like to think I have a mature, experienced eye. And, you know, I feel like every year there's so much more I'm still learning, and my eyes continually to mature. And as I mature, my editing pulls back more, like my post-processing pulls back more. My compositions get more balanced and less thrills and just fluff and just, you know, searching for actual good storytelling frames. Again, the sharpness on this is something I haven't really experienced before. Again, whatever you focus on, it just pops off from the rest of the image, but at the same time, the image feels whole. Again, like a black and white image. It's doing that, but in color. I don't know what it is. Anyways, let's go over some of the accessories on here real quick, then we'll wrap this up. First off, gotta give a shout out to Grant. He makes these beautiful bottom plates for the Leica Q series, and this is his upcoming grip version. I forgot what he called the material on here, but he's gonna have different colors. And usually these bottom plates are a beautiful brass. We both have a hardcore appreciation for aged products. So with that, having a brass bottom plate on here, you know, I could set it down on the ground and not be scared about getting it dinged up or scratched up because of the price of investment that this camera is for me. I do have on order the swivel out thumb grip here. This is a beautiful product. This is brass, and it's a similar thing where it's black painted, but it's made to be aged so the brass comes through. So for my Leica M11, this is a beautiful experience. From there, I'm gonna talk about fun filter, but before, I'm rocking my own custom strap that I did with Clever Supply Co. We deemed it the Rough Out Rambler strap, or Rambler Rough Out strap, however you want to say it. So putting the smooth side on the inside kind of helps just glide across you a little bit better. On top of that, we added a little bit more length to it because there's a lot of times where I need extra length. You see, I still have 2 strap holes left here. So if I need to go shorter, I still can. We have all brass hardware. We have double rivets here on the anchor points and then also up over here. And we're doing 2 versions. There's the peak design version, which I like. And then there's a split ring version, which I actually might change out to a split ring version of this Q3 because I don't imagine I'll be taking the strap off a lot on this. Last thing I want to touch on here, let's take the lens hood off. What's funny is just a couple of days before Johnny Rome showed me how he uses this on his Leica Q2 and Q3, Garrett, the actual creator of this who worked with Polar Pro, we actually started following each other randomly and then started to chit chat. And he's a super freaking cool dude. His work is stunning. So what this filter does here, one, it's a polarizer, but also it's a diffusion filter. I think this one is like a 1/8 or 1/4 of like their specific type of diffusion. I'll be honest, it literally just got here like 2 hours ago, so I have not been able to go out and use it yet. So I will test this on a fashion shoot and see if I like the look of it. That's kind of the setup that I'm doing so far. Before I wrap this video, last thing, when all the gray that I see on camera, the gray looks horrible. Like in photos, especially on phone photos, because the HDR makes it look brighter than it actually is. I'll say in person, this thing looks punk rock. I know it's kind of corny. I know I sound old saying that. That's the best way I could explain it though. It's kind of rock and roll looking. That's it. I don't know how long I've been recording, but it's probably been too long. I've been fucking recording for almost an hour. Jesus. Okay, I gotta go.